What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel, man. You guys have requested this video for so long and I'm so sorry it took me so long to do it. I just kept doing all these other comparison videos, but here we are back again by popular demand. I'm going to show you guys exactly my process of how I usually buy technology, used phones, whatever the case is. As you guys know, I talk a lot about a lot of different technology, whether it is phones or iPads, tablets, MacBooks, game systems. Like, this is the same formula. It's not a formula. I mean, it's nothing crazy that I'm going to show you. Like, it's not like I have some secret. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure everyone has done this at some point. It's just like negotiating and stuff. But this is pretty much the process of how I do it. Really, the first thing you have to do is just kind of figure out what technology you want. Do you want a phone? Do you want an iPad? Do you want whatever? So in my case, most of the time when I'm looking for something, it's a phone. So I'm going to use an iPhone 10 as an example. So that's going to be like the placeholder. So every single time I buy a phone nowadays, or even within the last year, it is always either through two sources. So it's either through eBay or it's through Amazon. So the reason I choose those two and not just one or the other is because they both have their strong suits. So eBay, for example, as you can see, I pulled up eBay right now and then I searched up iPhone 10. If you can see, you have tons of different options and you have, some for like 600 and 665 and 683. And you also have auctions here as well. But what the cool thing about Amazon, and that's why I always leave certified refurbished links in the description, because I do personally use them and I know they're super valuable. So here I just searched up iPhone 10 and here you can see an iPhone 10R for $633. That's the base model, some for $719, but sometimes when you do scroll down, you can see some, for like $566, sometimes for $564. So in my example, sometimes when I'm going to go and buy a phone, sometimes I just want it faster than later. I know most of the cases through eBay, it takes about 4 to 5 days to get to me. In Amazon, I can get it in 2 days. Now, for you, that might not be a big deal, but for me, sometimes I have to make a video within like a 2 or 3 day span, and like I have to have that device. So this is super valuable for me. I can get it as soon as September 10th, which I probably when I get this one, even though I don't understand its prime, but even the iPhone 10 is a weird example, but there's tons of different phones you can go get. But for this case, we're going to look at eBay. This is about, I would say like 9 out of every 10 times I buy a phone is usually through eBay. So this is the process that I usually do. The first thing that I do is search up the phone, exactly what I want. But what I do is I don't like going through these auctions. I never bid on auctions. I always lose them and they always get way too high for me. So I would go ahead and, have one tab open of a buy it now. I would just show all the buy it nows. That way I don't have to deal with all these auctions and everything like that. And then what I do is I go ahead and sort by the lowest first, okay? This is like the best process that I've seen. I used to do it by newly listed, but now I just do it by lowest first. Now, the next thing that I do immediately right after is I go ahead and copy this link and I go to a different link. I can go right here. I go ahead and click search. And then what I do here is I scroll down and I click on completed and sold items. So I click on completed items and then I go ahead and click on sold items because I want to see which ones of these have sold. So these iPhone 10s, and then from here you can just click on newly listed or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And this will kind of give you an idea of how much you could potentially sell your iPhone 10 for. Now you might be thinking, well, why are you even looking at how much it could sell for if you don't even have one yet? Well, eventually you're going to want to resell it, in my opinion. Now you don't have to if you don't want to, but I always check how much they're selling for currently so I can kind of, negotiate a little bit better. So I understand, if they're asking for 600 and I know they'll take 569, or I don't know that, but if that's kind of what they're going for, then I can go and, negotiate and DM them and then kind of go from there. But we'll get into that in a second. So what I'll do here is I'll kind of get like an idea of like all the iPhone 10s now. As you can see, a lot of them are broken. So usually there is an option to kind of break it down. So here we can click on iPhone 10 and it'll only show me the iPhone 10 models. And if you want a 64 or 256 gig options, you can kind of go from there. But as you can see, some are selling for 640. This must be 256. So let's go ahead and break it down to the 64 gig options. And then from here, we're kind of getting a better idea. So 589, 459 seems like it works only on AT&T. And sometimes you'll have these outliers like this one. I don't even know what happened here. 459 again, 590, 399. And sometimes these are broken. Like this one is broken. It's iCloud locked. This one is cracked. But sometimes you can kind of tell, okay, 495. So I would probably say I would be willing to give about like anywhere from like 450 to 500 for an iPhone 10 right now. These seem to be, 450, so bad Face ID. So I think that's probably the going rate that they're going for. Sometimes a little bit higher, depending on the condition. But I know that even if I pay like 500 or 550 for it, I won't be losing that much money if I were to go to resell. So now that we have a baseline of how much these kind of things are going for, What we can do now is go back to our first tab that we had up originally, and then go to the side and click on Apple iPhone 10 or whichever phone you're looking for. It can be a Samsung, it can be whatever. And then here they will start to show you the ones that are actually, working. Now, they give you a little pop-up that says we remove some searches that, aren't relevant. Usually these are like broken ones or like ones with iCloud lock or whatever. So in this case, I would usually just scroll down and find the ones that I usually stay away from Sprint phones. You might have Sprint, you might like them or whatever, but me, I don't even have Sprint. But every time I buy a Sprint phone, I always have issues reselling it. Maybe the past owner didn't close that account or whatever. So that's one brand of phones I usually stay away from. I usually get AT&T because they're the cheapest. Sometimes Verizon is the cheapest though. So once you kind of scroll down, you'll get a little bit of an understanding. And then eventually you'll find one that pops out to you that might look like a good deal. So this one I think might be a good deal. $480, that's in our budget between $450 to $500. And it's a 256 gig variant. Now, usually with AT&T phones, they're locked to AT&Ts most of the time. So as you can see, this guy is selling more than one, which in my opinion, I've always had somewhat trouble negotiating with people when they're only selling, when they have multiples to sell. But as you can see, the iPhone looks like to be in good condition. Now, this is not the same one you're going to get, but it'll give you an idea of the condition. And right here is usually the most important thing. Device is 100% fully functional and in fair physical condition. So I look at that, I'm like, okay, cool. And then it'll usually tell you, okay, they'll have dings, it might have some scratches, whatever. You should expect that. And then if you go down here, as you can see, I was right. It's only for AT&T. That's usually what happens with the AT&T phones. You're not getting any of these things, but you are getting these things, which is what you want. And then it says it's 4 out of 10. Honestly, I've had phones that were in the same category and I've literally had, nothing wrong with them at all. Besides some scratches or whatever, but they were really perfectly fine. So in a case like this, if I was comfortable enough, I would go ahead and probably spend the $480 on it. But the one thing you have to keep in mind, especially on eBay, is you want to look over here. Okay, this is super, super important. You want to make sure this seller has a super high positive feedback, but on top of that, you want to make sure they have a pretty decent feedback rating. Now, I've bought from people who had like 150 ratings and had great experiences, and I've bought from people who had like 30,000, positive feedbacks and had a horrible experience. So it goes both ways. You just want to make sure they have positive feedback. You want to make sure they're trusted, making sure their photos match up with what they're selling, and make sure you look through the photos and make sure, I've seen some cases where like I would go buy an iPhone 6s, but they're actually selling an iPhone 6 and you don't really realize that until, after you bought it. So you want to make sure everything looks good in the photos if they're selling something that's like one of one. So in that case, I would say go buy it. But here's the other thing that I always look to do. If you scroll down a little bit more, you might see some that are actually more expensive, for example, this one or this one. So let's just go to this one, right? Now, in this case, you might look at it, you might be like, oh my God, $475, that's a great deal. And the phone looks to be in great condition and everything. But here's the thing that kind of would freak me out about this specific situation. Now, this is my opinion only. I would look and I would be like, awesome. I would go read the description. Okay, it seems like whatever needs jailbreaking. Okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, so immediately I would probably stay away from this. But let's say everything worked, right? The one red flag for me would be the rating of this guy and the positive feedback. As you can see, they only have 2 ratings. So even though it's 100% positive, there's only 2 ratings here. So I would not buy this anyway. But continue to scroll down. This is another one that caught my eye. Now, this could be a one where they're kind of selling multiple of them. Nope, this is perfect. So in this case, this is like a gem in my opinion. This guy doesn't have crazy high review numbers. So that gives me an idea that he'll probably respond back to a message and he won't give me some generic response. As you can see, everything works, whatever. It's GSM, so it works with AT&T and T-Mobile. It's unlocked, so that's really good. There's no balance on this phone. As you can see, the photos make it look okay. They're good. It's a solid option. Scroll down, we can read about it. The Apple iPhone 10. The front glass is cracked on the bottom right corner. So right there, even though I couldn't see it, that's one thing I would not buy this phone at all. And as you can see, the amount of time that we're spending trying to find a good phone that I usually spend when I'm looking at these phones, usually I would just go on Amazon and just buy it anyway. So as you can see, this phone is for AT&T only, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Phone has been tested. Phone has no cracks, but may have scratches, whatever. So this is another example of probably a solid option. As you can see, the phone looks to be good. That might be a replacement screen. Honestly, in my opinion, it kind of looks like it, but I can't really tell through the photos. But if I were to, it kind of gives me that vibe. Now, here's the important thing. Like I said before, 100% positive feedback. This guy's rating is a couple thousand, but it's not like 100,000 or anything. So this guy will probably end up responding back. So what I would do at this point, if I saw the photos and I saw that everything looked good, I would go ahead and click contact seller. Now it's going to make me log in. I'm not going to log in. But what I would do is I would go ahead and log in and I would go ahead and send that person a message. So I would go I saw your iPhone 10 listed. I was wondering if you would take any lower than that, maybe 450. I honestly don't even remember what the price was. So 490. So I would go ahead and shoot for 450, maybe even lower. It just depends. And you want to make sure you're polite. You want to make sure you say something, maybe even a little bit longer than this. I know it seems corny and stuff, but usually this is what's worked for me, to ask them how they're doing. You know, I know nobody cares, but you want to end it with asking them, you know, how much will they take for it? Now, this is the same message that I send to everybody. Now, in this example, I would probably end up just buying it. But if I wanted to save the most amount of money, this is probably the way I would go about doing it. I used to do this all the time back in the day. Nowadays, I just kind of want to get something as fast as possible for the cheapest amount. So I would probably just end up paying for this. And then they'll eventually respond back and they'll say either yes or no. If they say yes, that's awesome. Then they'll lower the price or send you an offer. But if they say no, then you can say how much is the lowest you'll take, and they'll say they're firm on the price, and then you just move on to somebody else. And then you'll just basically keep doing that until you find an option that works for you. But that is honestly all I do. That is literally it. I don't really go on Craigslist or anything like that. I just buy everything through my computer. And so that's pretty much how I would break it down. You know, if you want to put in the work and you want to get the lowest priced phone that you possibly can, going through eBay is probably the best way if you use the same exact methods that I do, which is not even methods, dude. It's just like negotiating. Like, it's not like I have a secret. It's just like whatever. But if you want a mixture of cheap price and also just the fast and, you know, getting it without even haggling or whatever, Amazon is probably your best way to go. So either or, man, that's really all I do. Nothing too crazy. You guys probably think I have some insider secrets. No, I honestly don't. This is all I do. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button. That will mean so much. But definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.